Sometimes it might be necessary to export shift data from Rosemark into an Excel file if I'm trying to make a custom report. There's different ways to export the data, and I would choose the best route based on if I'm doing this for a specific person like a client or caregiver, or if I'm just trying to look at all shifts across a range of time. Now to start out, I'm going to take a look at doing it from a caregiver. So I'm going to click on the caregivers drop-down list and open my caregiver list active. Now I'm going to pick on Velvet Easton for this case. We'll see, looking at the caregiver information down below, there's this button towards the top right that says Shifts for Week. This is going to be my starting point. So if I click this open, I'm going to get a shift list showing me everything that's going on for this caregiver this week. You can see here the filters are set already to be on Velvet. This would also be where I changed it if I had maybe picked the wrong caregiver and wanted to change or to look at everybody. And I'm going to click on the statuses. So I only want to see shifts that are verified complete. So I'm going to change that. You'll notice some of these shifts drop off right away. And I'm going to change my range and say I'm actually going to look at a specific month. I'm going to say month, and let's say I was interested in June. So now I can see this list here. I've got 12 verified complete shifts. Now, a thing to keep in mind, which some people don't realize, is the extent of how much data is actually on a shift. If I click on a shift here for an example, you can see it's got the start time, the end time, the date of the shift, the times of the clock-ins, its duration, all this information about the caregiver and client it's related to and the services, as well as information about the pay and bill summary, the rates, any mileage and expenses. There's a lot of data attached to a shift, and if you're doing a report, you probably only need certain pieces of it. But luckily, when I go to the File menu in the top left, which is where I can select Export Shifts to Spreadsheet, before it's actually exported, I have an option here, if I click on Shift Fields, to check off which pieces of information I actually care about. So if I needed only a few specific things for this particular one, I'll just uncheck Select All. I can just choose certain things, like maybe I want the start time and the end time and the start date. I don't need the caregiver name because I'm making a report for Velvet Easton, so I know all the shifts are going to be her, so I might skip that, but I'll choose the client full name, and then maybe I want the comment on the shift. So I just kind of specifically pick whatever I might need for that report. If I say OK, I'll see now I just have 5 out of 47, so there's only going to be 5 columns of information in that Excel file. Now as a bonus, we kind of give you additional options which you might sometimes need if there's any fields relating to the client, caregiver, or customer of any of these given shifts that I also want to include. So this expands it beyond all those shift fields we looked at before. So if I clicked one of these open, like customer fields, it's the additional fields about the customer, meaning the person who pays the bill I could add on, or additional fields on the caregiver and things like that. So you can really expand your options here with any kind of report you might want. When I finish out, I can just hit the export button, then just choose the location I want to save this export to. Now I can see there on the desktop is that Excel file I just generated. Now additionally, I might want to do this from a client. I'm going to do it from the client side. Start by opening up my client list active like I did with the caregiver. And I'll pick a specific client here, Helen Aniela. Now if I want to get to that shift list screen like I had on the caregiver, for a client I need to go inside of the planner window to see that shift list button right here. Now I've got a filtered list for this client showing me shifts for the week that I was looking at in the planner. I'll adjust my filters here and choose something else. I'll say I want the status of refused assignment. And instead of this week, I want to look at all times. So I'm going to say on or before today's date. And here you see I've got 2 of these refused assignment shifts right here. Now just like before, I would go to the File drop-down menu and say Export Shifts to Spreadsheet, and just choose the shift fields that I wanted and hit Export. Now a final way to do this, kind of starting from a more broad view, would be in the Office menu of the main Rosemark screen. I can click on Shifts on Day. Now if I really did want a specific day, I could just choose that. Otherwise, if I just want to get to the next screen so I can do some filtering, I can just say OK to whatever day it currently has selected. And here I am looking at all the shifts for Monday, August 5th. And I have these general filters, so a caregiver and the client are both set to all, but I could click the drop down and filter to a specific person, kind of like I was doing when I started from that caregiver file by being on the caregiver in the first place and then hitting Shift List. If I change it back to all, though, I'm looking at everybody in the system. So here's where I might choose all statuses drop down, and let's say I want to report on all my no-shows. So I'm going to choose no-show as my status first, then adjust the date range. I recommend you always choose the status if you're going to do a different status than all before you change your date range. Then it'll go a little faster because you're not going to have to filter through everything first. So I have no-show selected. I'm going to say on or before. And here I can see I've got 3 no-shows. I click on any one of these to see the details right here on this list. Or just like before, if I want to export it, I can go to File, Export Shifts to Spreadsheet, and then get that report wherever I save it. And now that you've got your data in Excel, using things like a pivot table with that exported data as your data source, you can get some really great looking reports manipulating that data in Excel.